So I would like to address something that I've said in my previous video. I use the word stealing, but I don't feel like people purchasing one counterfeit deck is like, oh, automatically stealing into the energy and profit that I get to make with one original deck. I don't think the math is like that in that way, but it creates this story of victimhood and it's like and also scarcity. It did not sit right with me to just leave it there because I kind of feel like I opened a can of worms and it sure sounds like I am giving people a free pass to buy counterfeit decks because I said buying a counterfeit deck does not automatically replace a deck sale and steal profit from the deck creator, which is not entirely true and not accurate. And I just want to expand on that because it just didn't sit right with me to kind of just leave the video at that because I am a deck creator. I definitely don't want to be giving people free passes to buy counterfeits and to enable this culture. I think the first thing I want to say is like, the reason I said that is like, as a deck creator myself, I don't want to put myself in the mentality of like seeing someone buy my counterfeit deck and automatically it's like tit for tat. It's automatically a steal. It's automatically money lost. And I just don't want to be in that victim mentality all the time. That's why I said I don't think if I see someone buy a counterfeit deck, then it's directly stealing from me. It's more for my own mental health. It's more for my own inner peace. It's more for my sake. And I don't know how other deck creators are handling it, but I just feel like deck creators, we should take a stand for our creations and protect our intellectual property as much as we can. At the same time, we need to take care of ourselves because being like constantly engaging ourselves in this battle can get really exhausting because counterfeit culture is a huge beast to tackle. It requires a lot of like consistent reporting. You have to be relentless and it's just a lot of energy that you have to pour into kind of just regulating and bring listing down and bring all the, like reporting sellers and things like that. So it's an ongoing effort. I'm just saying that deck creators should not have to bear that burden and feel burned out and exhausted all the time and not be constantly just feeling like feeling like victims of this counterfeit culture. Because even though we are victims of counterfeit culture, I think there's a certain level of acceptance that we can have so we can pour our creative energy into other things that are worthwhile. That is not to say to give up on protecting our intellectual property or to not defend or just... I know I kind of sound like I was giving up in my previous video and I feel kind of self-conscious about that. I'm definitely currently in a season of just taking care of myself and my business first. I'm not dedicating a lot of energy into dealing with the counterfeits. That's just the season I'm in and that's just what I'm choosing to do right now, and I don't want to sound like I'm giving up on the fight because I'm not. Like last year I dedicated a portion of my time, a few weeks, I was doing trademarks, I was bringing listings down, but it does get exhausting because you're constantly being put in this warrior mode and you do feel like a victim. I feel myself like turning into a Karen almost, even though I had like righteous reasons for doing what I was doing. But I did get burned out and I decided that the most important priority was to take care of my mental health because I was recovering from an abusive relationship. So that's just where I am right now. And going back to what I was saying, that's what I meant. I don't mean like if you buy a counterfeit deck, you're not stealing from deck creators. I just want to be very clear that counterfeit culture is wrong. That's basically, you are stealing from the artists, the deck creators, the original like people who, who poured their heart and soul and hard work into creating, publishing, launching this product, and then just seeing it counterfeited and pirated illegally. It's illegal to steal from someone's copyright, intellectual property. I just want to be very clear that I'm not saying that it's okay to do. I also just want to explore that a little bit. And I think maybe for people who are buying, it doesn't feel that wrong because number one, there's no real consequences for you to buy a counterfeit copy, other than maybe you just experience some guilt when you find out that it's a counterfeit. Or maybe you just feel a little awkward when someone confronts you about it, or you feel defensive. So you just have some emotional attacks. But there's really no legal consequence for people who buy into counterfeit culture. In fact, you might feel that you've gained something because you save money and then you are enjoying this bargain. And look, you get to have the original thing without paying for all the extra money that you would have to spend to get the original thing. and maybe you're fine getting like a cheaper version as long as all the cards are there and you can see the art, right? As long as you can shuffle this deck of cards. So you may even feel like you've landed a bargain. And maybe hearing me say like, oh, you're not directly stealing from me, or you're not directly stealing from the artist and the decorators I made them, maybe that made you feel better. But honestly, I don't know what to say to you. I have given up the role of, I don't, it's not my job to police people's emotions. I don't want to be the emotional babysitter. I don't want to confront people all the time just to guilt trip them into buying my deck or not buying counterfeit decks. It's personally, for me, it's emotionally draining to put myself in even just in that mode. So that's not something I do. Ideally, I want people to make better choices and support original work and support original decorators. However, that's outside of my control. I cannot mind bend them into just acting on their moral obligations or just their moral values, because when it comes to morals, like, there really is a line, right? When it comes to how much we're willing to spend to feel aligned with our morals when it comes to buying counterfeit or illegal things. For example, you might feel okay about streaming an illegal pirated copy of a movie, but you might not feel okay about like buying a counterfeit copies. So counterfeit culture and dupe culture is just everywhere. And I'm sure without meaning to, I might have some counterfeit stuff sitting in the house just because I didn't know. You know, I try my best to be conscious of what I spend and, you know, where I spent my money, etc. And I think that's what it feels like. It's not that wrong, is it? And I'm sure decorators would take offense to that because it never stops hurting. Really. I find out someone purchases like a counterfeit copy, or I see another counterfeit listing pop up. It'll never stop hurting, or it'll never stop annoying me. It'll never stop making me feel like, again, really, like another one of these cockroaches have spawned. Like, it never stops hurting. And I think like maybe for people who are buying, like, I don't know, like I don't have a vendetta against you because I don't really know who's buying. And I feel like it's personal and not personal at the same time. It's personal because all my decks are personal, and I'm like a one-woman show. This is my business. Everything I create, everything is done by me. I'm not a big corporation, and I think that's when, you know, that line, that moral line, maybe it gets, you know, it starts sliding. I think when people feel like they're buying counterfeits or dupes from big corporations and they can afford to take a loss, or they can, you know, they don't really care, it can slip right under the radar. You might buy a counterfeit. Maybe it really truly won't affect the big corporations, but I think a lot of the indie businesses and heart center small businesses, when their stuff gets counterfeited, it really affects their income. And there's, other than just you know, reporting the listings and then getting trademarks, getting copyrights, there's just like, unless you want to go full legal power and just like fight this war to the bitter end, I think most of us are just getting by and managing and doing the best that we can to stand up for our creations and also trying to take care of ourselves. I'm definitely in the camp of fight the fight, but protect your energy and protect your peace at the same time. Because sometimes it can get endless. Sometimes it is the battle of attrition, and sometimes you just have to step back and take a break. Otherwise, you sort of end up feeling very helpless and you kind of turn into a Karen. You know, because you just feel so victimized, because it really is like such a beast to tackle sometimes, and you really can't control what people do and what they think. And yeah, that's why it doesn't feel so wrong, even though it is. I think decorators, we want you to think that it's wrong. We want you to think that it's wrong and that you would rather support us or just not buy. Hold off buying, so when you have the money, you can actually support us and give that money to the thing that we created and not buy the counterfeit. But it's like, not everyone cares and not everyone has that priority. Some people would be like, it's just 20, 25 bucks. Maybe they can even get it cheaper on AliExpress for like $3, $6 for like a deck of cards. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care about you as a decorator. They don't care about your brand, your voice. They're just like, I want this deck of cards. I like pandas or whatever it is that they see. I just want to have it for like a short while and then maybe not care about it. You know, I just want to shop something. I just want to buy it. So I guess it's consumerism, it's capitalism. Maybe it's buying without thinking or meaning. I think that goes back to, I forgot if I mentioned this earlier in this video. Some people buy out of ignorance because they truly did not know, or some people just buy out of negligence. It's like, yeah, I know, but I don't care. I don't want to spend $55 American to purchase your deck. I don't care about the guidebook. I don't care about the spa UV light designs. I don't care about the green matte edges. I don't care about all the bells and whistles. I just want a deck of cards, something that I can shuffle. I guess if you're doing that, then I can just own it. That sounds horrible, but it's like, instead of like making it our fault for not lowering the prices, why don't you just say, I don't really give a shit that I'm buying counterfeit because I don't want to spend the money. And we can just go our separate ways because like I said, it never stops hurting. And I think I've been lucky enough that I have multiple decks, and I have my Spread Crafter series are not being counterfeited right now, or as far as I know. I've been lucky that I have multiple decks bringing me income, so I don't feel the impact as much, because I could definitely see that sales have gone down, but at the same time I can't track it properly. I was also saying this in my previous video. It's like how do you track which the deck sales that are lost? Because you don't really know people who buy counterfeit decks, they're gonna spend money on your original deck because they might just want something cheap, and they might never buy something at the price points that you set. It's like, have you truly lost the money, or it's just that feeling of being stolen from, and it's something outside of your reach because you see people buying counterfeit, and it's like, and that's yours. So I don't know, like, it's a mixture of feeling the injustice, feeling victimized, feeling betrayed almost, be feeling even a little abandoned because people really don't give a shit. Like, people, they might know, but they will still buy out of negligence. And it's like, I don't have all the answers. I just feel like I would hope that people would shop with more intention, that they would sort of value what you've created. Maybe it's the wound of not being valued. It's just the trigger of feeling like you're not being valued, that whatever it is that you've created is not being valued. And it does take a toll. And I sort of was talking about this in my previous video, so if you want to know, like, kind of like the emotional behind the scenes, my emotional journey with it, you can go check out my other video. But this video is mostly about my explorations with counterfeit culture. Yeah, I guess it's like the only thing that's keeping people from buying counterfeit decks are either just their own choices or just their guilt, I guess. And I suppose I could use guilt as a tactic. I could launch a campaign and just, you know, berate people about how wrong it is. I personally don't have the energy. I don't know the line between falling into this abyss of using emotional triggers to police people or advocating for copyright justice to people who don't care. So not sure if there's a winning situation here, because either way, as a deck creator, if I were to pursue these options to sway consumers to not do certain things, I'm just like, I'd rather spend that energy on creating and talking to the people that truly value my work and have healthy relationships with them, and use that energy to create instead of defend, protect, stress, and go on a downward spiral. And again, I'm not saying that I never do that. I periodically, when I have the energy, when I feel ready, I take on the fight. But I just have to be very conscious about how I spend my energy. I'm sure most deck creators would feel the same, right? I think I talked to several deck creators and they all say, like, you know, periodically they would start taking down listings. They would have a routine with it, etc. So everyone goes about it differently. But yeah, these are just some of my thoughts. Some of my thoughts so far, because ever since I published a video, I was just thinking about this a lot. And I thought I would post another video just to make sure people know that I am not giving out a free pass by counterfeit copies, and perhaps invite some discussion and dialogue around this topic. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're a deck creator, let me know how you're dealing with it and how you're approaching this whole thing. Let's start a conversation, I guess, or let's keep the conversation going. All right, see you next time.